Hey guys, I'm Nick from TV Priest, and I've been working on the production with TV Priest since we began about a year or so ago, and we thought it would be nice to kind of show you a little bit of what goes into the songs and how they're kind of constructed and how the production process, I suppose, and what makes up our songs. So I shan't delay. Today I've got Press Gang, and it's our latest single, out in January 2021. And yeah, I'll show you some of the kind of layering of the different drum textures, and we play a lot with like electronic samples and kind of layering of sounds and manipulating sounds, playing with, you know, our kick, for instance, is like actually a sample from an acoustic floor tom, which we've pitched down and then turned into a kind of turned into a sample and played through a sampler, and then sync that with like a live performance on like an electric kit and all sorts of things. So we really kind of toyed with stuff. It's not necessarily as it seems. So yeah, I'll dig in and show you some of the layers that we've got and some of the samples and things and how it all kind of comes together. Right, so we can start off now with as we've just been talking about that, let's start off with the kind of electronic drums that you hear at the very start of the track. So it's like quite synthetic, quite electronic, and there's just like really simple layers, and this is an acoustic kind of crash cymbal, and it kind of cuts out as the live drums kick in, which are doing this. Really, really simple. And you can hear this kind of electronic layer coming out, and that's all the acoustic drums are doing. At this point in time, and at some point there's a little hi-hat movement in there, kind of playing the combination of the electronic samples with the actual live performances and things, and then hat comes in. It's like, you know, it's really, really simple stuff in terms of the drums. It's just layering and textures and kind of evolving that sound, and then you've got a bit more of the actual live performance of the drums there, and you can actually kind of hear how it is a drummer at that point in time, and it's not just a kind of all processed electronic drums. And those kicks there, for instance, I was talking about that just now. So this is a sample of a floor tom, that we've kind of pitched down and manipulated and layer in with a digital or another sample, and that's kind of got the bite and I suppose the kind of texture of the kick drum, and then you've got this big kind of electronic kick drum sample underneath, which is then synchronized to this live performance of a tom manipulated, and that's like, you know, that's like a really big fat kind of round kick, and the two together. So that's just a little simple thing I did for the kick, and that's kind of consistent actually a lot through the first record. Is this really metronomic, very kind of persistent, unforgiving, unrelenting kind of drum section that we've kind of worked on and developed and kind of derived a lot from what people will call krautrock or kosmische music, which is kind of something we're really fond of, like Kraftwerk and Neu and Can, and these very kind of experimental bands from the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, making amazing electronic music, and I implore you all to go out. Okay, so let's move on to some other textures. So now we've got the bass sound, which is the actual live bass that I play. And I play a Fender VI, which is like a 6-string bass, but looks and plays like a guitar, but is a bass and has bass strings and goes an octave lower than most guitars. And it has quite a kind of weird tone, which isn't very bassy. It feels a little bit like a rhythm guitar, but playing a bass part. I kind of supplement it in the first record. I kind of supplement it a little bit, so you can hear the sub going on underneath in a second, which I'll play just after. And then the sub underneath. So that's the texture of the actual guitar. and that's, you know, that's a huge big fat sine wave kind of bass synth being played and processed and kind of working in sympathy with the actual bass line. And I'll play those two together now. So they're quite chaotic together, to be honest. And now this is a really interesting part. This is what we call the pants bass. And this is like a really raw recording of guitar parts, and we use this a lot. So when we actually start our demos and when we write a lot of songs, it comes from Alex or Sprogis, our guitarist, and he makes these really raw, interesting demos where he's literally recording a guitar, an electric guitar, completely unamplified into a MacBook Pro microphone, and it, you know, and you put a little bit of drive on it, put a bit of chorus. You can see kind of what's going on here. Saturator, all basic Ableton plugins, and some really harsh EQs, and you kind of carve out this incredibly unique tone, and you'll hear it throughout the record. And it's something we're playing with a lot now. But yeah, you just can't create it any other way. It just is what it is, and it's quite unique. So I'll just play you a little bit of that so you can hear what that sounds like. And so that's where that original line came from. That's you know, a scratch demo. Sprogis sat there at home going do 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 on his guitar, and it's an amazing tone. Like I say, we use it quite a lot, and you'll see that kind of comes into effect slightly more. So that is him playing like single notes, and then we've actually got this this kind of second tonal, which I suppose you'll hear a bit more of actually than the bass itself, is the guitar tone where he's fully kind of strumming. So that's obviously a little bit more heavily processed, got some reverb and some bit more distortion, I think. I actually don't know this one so well. A bit of delays, perhaps, cathedral, or big reverb, bit of EQ, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, and then here is a slightly kind of cleaner, more direct version of that. So that's it in its kind of not purest form, but about as pure as it gets. A compressor, a bit of saturation, an EQ, and another EQ. I don't know what I've done there. A little bump somewhere in there just to kind of pull out some stuff. Yeah, let's hear a different version. And there's your lead line. And yeah, and those lead into. So we've done some. Those lead into the drop there. I actually don't know what this one is. Let me hear. Yeah, so there's some little kind of offbeat guitars in there. Just similarly, kind of in this pants bass or pants guitar that we're calling it. And here's similarly kind of some stabs which are created, which you'll hear kind of throughout the first verse, which we've left in kind of bad samples, and you can kind of hear them popping away. Reading the world on your lap as the press gang lets up. Free street mirrors, column inches. And final sound, I suppose, other than the voice and the vocal layering, which is pretty standard, is this really heavy distorted guitar. Which I think is a guitar running through an amp, then through like a Neve preamp, just absolutely destroyed it, which is like a technique from, I believe, the Beatles, running through like a Neve console back in the day on the White Album, amongst other things. Anyway, so that's a little rundown of what we've done in the process of here. I won't give you Charlie's vocals. He might murder me if I solo them. And then I print that all. Through a sort of bus mix compressor, an EQ, and then I print it. And I love working in that kind of analog way, kind of combination of digital with analog and printing something, and it is what it is. You know, once you've kind of settled on the choices, it is what it is. And yeah. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed. Sorry about rambling, but I hope you've enjoyed that. And yeah, until next time. Goodbye.